Hi there, Chris from TotallyEV, and here we're doing a dedicated audio review of the Porsche Taycan 4S Cross Turismo. Note, this review will still be applicable for prospective Cross Turismo or indeed Taycan owners, because the audio systems are shared across the vehicles. Now, if you want a dedicated review of the vehicle itself, do check it up on your pop banner, down description below, or indeed in the pinned comments. Now, it's worth considering that you've got three separate audio configurations. As standard, you've got 10 speakers that output 150 watts. Then move over to the Bose system, you've got 14 speakers that output 710 watts. And then you've got the Burmester one that offers 21 speakers and giving you a staggering 1,455 watts. In fact, if you want a review of the latter system, do check it out when we reviewed the Porsche Taycan Turbo up on your pop banner, or indeed go down in the description below or in the pinned comments. Now, the Bose audio system is what we're going to be concentrating on in this review. Here you have got 14 speakers. 2 of them are found within each of the 4 doors. 2 at the front, whereby you have got on the extremities of the dashboard a center speaker, and then you have got 2 partial stealth speakers, and the 14th is the subwoofer that resides in the boot. Note, this will eat away a little bit of storage capacity, so that's worth considering when it comes to a practicality point of view. Now, for you to tinker around with the audio drivers, you can go through the infotainment system. By the 10.9-inch display, you can adjust the surround and also adjust the bass and treble. Now, in our case, we've added only 1 notch to the treble EQ and left the bass as default. Indeed, over here there's no dedicated mid-range or subwoofer controls, which we find quite surprising, and very much the same comments were said when we reviewed the Burmester audio system. Now, elsewhere we have disabled the linear and surround mode options, and we'll discuss why further down in this review. Further down, you've also got Sound True and the Audio Pilot. We've left the latter enabled and disabled the former because we felt that it tinker around with the overall sound frequency. As for the balance and fader, we have left it at center. Now, for you to connect up to the infotainment system, you do have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, which are supported on a wired and wireless format, which is a great addition. Specifically over a wide format, you're going to be able to attain the best sort of audio fidelity. And here there's 2 Type-C ports found towards the center console, which allows you USB playback, although again via your smartphone. Now, elsewhere, if you do want to connect over wirelessly other than the third-party mobile operating systems, you do have Bluetooth, where the SBC and AAC codecs are supported, although we'd only use this as a last resort because Bluetooth audio fidelity isn't as good as Wi-Fi or indeed via the wired connection. Moving swiftly on, we get onto cabin noise, and here it is kept down to a minimum, whereby tire and indeed wind noise is kept down and gives you a serene in-cabin experience. Our objective numbers will be on your screen right now. Now, what we will say is that our model that was tested did not have the insulated laminated glass option that comes in around £950, and therefore might be something that you might want to consider if you want to further bring down these numbers and therefore make it even quieter. So with all of that said and done, let's get onto an audio demo, which I know won't be ideal over YouTube, but nonetheless I'll be placing the camera and microphone in 4 separate locations and playing back a track by Priya J, which is titled Falling.
You should hide, then learn how to fly. It's the only way you know how to play this game to success. I'm not quite sussed it yet. When I reach the brink, don't stop to think. I always think, and now I'm things my imagination is constantly racing 1,000 miles ahead. I'm living in my own mind, but it's floating, I'm always hoping. But when I reach the brink, don't stop to think. I always think, and now
So with the audio demo out of the way, let's get on to my subjective opinion. And here I must say the sub-bass does extend really well in the lower echelons of the bass frequencies. And that's thanks to the inclusion of the subwoofer in the Bose audio system. Indeed, you're going to get a really hearty and low-end extension that's going to keep you excited when you're listening back to EDM, D&B or R&B tracks. Now, similarly, the mid-bass is very hearty and punchy. It's got a good sort of concise sound to it as well, and that sort of Bose sound whereby it's not overdone. Of course, you might want to reduce it by 1 or 2 notches via the EQ controls found on the infotainment system if you feel that it's a little bit too forward-facing. Now, on the flip side, the mids are pretty recessed and pushed back. In comparison to the Burmester audio system, it is definitely one of its weakest points, and even then the Burmester audio system wasn't all that impressive. It is quite surprising given Bose's pedigree, specifically when it comes to their consumer electronics department. Here you will find a lot of mid-range accuracies, but that's not quite the same that could be said about the male or female vocals that one can attain in the Taycan or the Taycan Cross Turismo Bose audio system. Suffice to say over here that the mids are recessed, and therefore audiophiles might be left a little bit disappointed. As for the highs, they extend pretty well at the front of the cabin, and that's thanks to the dedicated tweeters, and you do get them at the rear as well, and in this respect they do extend pretty well. They sound quite zingy, and therefore you might not want to adjust more than 1 or 2 notches on the treble EQ. Now, of course, you might have been tempted to add more to the treble EQ in order to bolster the mids, but alas, if you do that, then the highs will become a bit too sibilant and harsh. So finally we get onto its soundstage, and here I would say it's one of the weakest points of the Bose audio system. See, it's a bit too unidirectional. It lacks that width and depth and doesn't have that instrument separation, specifically if you compare it to the more expensive Burmester audio system, which by the way wasn't all that class leading either. Now you might be quick to say, well, you could have enabled the linear or the surround options via the infotainment system and give you that better width and depth, but unfortunately by doing so you're going to take away from the overall accuracy that the audio system is able to produce, and as a result you're going to get even more veiled mids, you're going to get some artificial highs, and you're going to get this weird bass frequency sound. Frankly, over here, the surround option just takes away from all the goodness that we've mentioned so far and further adds to the overall misery that this audio system can produce. And it's quite disappointing given the 14 audio drivers that are positioned with the speaker. You might have expected a better surround sound algorithm. So with all of that in mind, it brings us onto our verdict, and quite frankly the Bose audio system is arguably the best bang for your buck if you're going for the Taycan or the Taycan Cross Turismo, purely because it's offering a likened Burmester audio experience and one that's certainly an upgrade over the stock system. But in comparison to other audio systems that you can find out there on the market, the Bose, the Burmester, or even the stock audio systems that's found within the Porsche Taycan or Cross Turismo are quite disappointing. Ones that are offered from Tesla, Polestar, or Volvo, or even BMW are all superior than the ones that we've heard in the Porsche Taycan range. Now, nonetheless, we'd be intrigued to hear your thoughts of the audio systems down in the comment section below. And if you've liked this independent detailed review, definitely do consider dropping a like, subscribe, and hitting that bell notification, of course, if you haven't already. All of which, by the way, are greatly appreciated. As such, I've been Chris from TotallyEV, and I'll hopefully see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves, and goodbye.